it's Shayna. Welcome to Controlled Chaos, the podcast where we dive into the world of recovery, sharing stories of experience, strength, and hope from those who have been there and made it through. No matter where you are in your battle with addiction, alcoholism, or mental health struggles, know that there is a way out. Throughout my sobriety journey, I have often felt alone and doubted my ability to even stay sober. Starting this podcast in my room just 2 months ago, I had a dream of reaching people just like me, those who felt hopeless. As a woman in recovery, I began with 0 followers, but with a dream of offering hope to even just one person. The mission of this podcast is to connect, inspire, and provide hope to those feeling lost or struggling with addiction. Remember, the opposite of addiction and isolation is sobriety and connection. Let's come together through the Controlled Chaos podcast and support each other on the journey to healing and growth. Hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and let's build a community of support and understanding. Love you mucho. Welcome to Controlled Chaos. My name is Shayna. I'm your host, and this is my new best friend that I stalked to get here, Amanda. Can you kind of introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
So I'm Amanda. I am a recovering addict. I will be 4 years clean on Tuesday, April 30th. I am right. God is good. I am a whole Jesus loving freak. He saved my life. And I am also a single mom of 4. I am also a widow. I'm also an influencer, a leader, mentor, beauty guru, so many things. Jack of all trades.
You are all the things. You are all the things.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about, I guess, the serious stuff first, right? How did kind of addiction and all of that come into your life? Like, how did it start?
So I was about 25 years old. So I started way later in life. I already had my first 2 kids. I was married. I got married when I was 18. So like I grew up fast. And then I started to like get sick. And went to the doctor who prescribed me Percocet 30s because I had Lyme's disease. And then my doctor got arrested like a year later. And that went into me buying pills on the streets. And that quickly escalated into a heroin addiction.
Okay, so kind of went from using your prescribed pills onto he wasn't available anymore. So you kind of did what you could do to get the same effects type of deal.
Yep.
And this is something that I think a lot of people are just starting to realize that, like, not everybody starts out with these intentions of this happening or things like that. And, you know, some of us do know what we're getting into at the time, but still, but a lot of us do start off from, you know, something as innocent as, you know, it was prescribed and you just became addicted, right? So that was kind of your story. And how did that affect your life then?
I want to say literally within a month, it changed my life. It was like I was born an addict and it was just waiting for me to come in. And as soon as I got that euphoric feeling from those pills, it was done. I was over. My life revolved around it. And like my life revolved around it. I was taking more than prescribed. As soon as that ran out, I was using our rent money. I was divorced within 6 months. And like it was literally, it was overnight, you know?
It was really fast. So your marriage when you got married when you were 18, did you have kids with him?
Yeah, my 2 oldest.
Okay, so when you ended up getting divorced and you were going through this drug problem, did he keep your kids then, or did you still have your kids when you moved on?
So when I got divorced, when I started abusing my pills, I influenced my husband to start using it. And he's a whole different addict than I was at the time. He was no better of an addict, but he was a whole different addict. He knew when to stop and I didn't, you know? So us both being addicts and me being the worst addict, him being an enabler, like that's what caused our divorce. I did really stupid things. He did really stupid things. There was just no going back to the marriage that we had.
Mhm.
So I was a stay-at-home mom at the time and he worked full time. So I took my kids with me
Mhm.
and I took them for as long as I could being an addict until he realized like there's that's not their mom anymore. Like she can't do it. So he finally went and filed for custody of them and I lost my kids.
Okay. And then how did the next few years go? Did you stay using for how many years did you keep using before you kind of had your, I don't know, did you have a rock bottom moment?
Yeah, yeah. So I was in addiction for about 6 to 7 years.
Mhm.
Um, so like I said, he took the kids from me, and then I also had another son with one of my drug dealers. And um, me and him were never really together, so it was just me and my baby at the time.
Mhm.
And I was going deeper into addiction at that time, like right after I had him. This is when my heroin addiction really became into play. Then I also started doing meth, and I was just doing whatever to survive. My world revolved around using drugs. And then about a point in 2017, I got my first charge. I was arrested for a DUI with my son in
Okay.
the car. So I have a whole child endangerment charge. He was taken away at this point. So I had both my older kids taken away, then my youngest. And then that broke me. That just you would think that that would make you want to become sober, but when you're in that addict state of mind, it just made me want to go harder. I remember like begging to God to just kill me at this point because like why would I want to live without my kids, you know? So from that point on, from when I got my first charge, I got 4 more DUIs within 1 month, possession charges, grand theft auto, and it was a chaotic year until I was finally arrested.
Okay. So I think you pointed out something that a lot of people don't understand there. So I want to go back and talk about that. Um, there's like a whole lot of shame connected to addiction, alcoholism, whatever it is that you have, right? So people a lot of times think that we have kids and we just don't care about them or things like that. And it really is so much the opposite, right? Can you kind of talk about that? Because, like, there's this almost like the shame of all the stuff that you're putting your kids through or that you're doing to your kids almost makes you want to use more, right?
Uh,
Because you're so ashamed. And I don't think that's something that people really understand unless they've been through it.
no, they'll absolutely not understand. And honestly, if I was on the other side of it, I would never understand. I would never, like, especially being able to be a mom to my kids today. I'm like, how the
Even
hell did I?
looking back, it
Yeah,
feels crazy, right? It's
I,
like, what was I doing? What was
right.
I thinking?
But
Right?
at that time, it's like you can't live without your drug. You can't. Like my world revolved around it. There's no way I could take care of these kids, feed them, bathe them, anything unless I'm high, unless I am not, I can't be sick because then I can't mom, and like that's was my thought process. And I I hated it. Like I knew it was happening. Like I remember going to pick up drugs with my kids in the car all the time and thinking like I can't believe I'm doing this, but hey, you know what? I'm gonna go get high and then I'm gonna go take them to the park and we're all gonna be happy.
Because it's almost like you have to have that drug or alcohol, whatever it is, in order to function, right? Because where regular people wake up and they just live their day, you really can't start your day until you have that because your body's so used to it.
Yeah.
And then there's also that shame factor. And when you feel so bad about the things you've done, that drug or alcohol kind of like numbs that out, right? So you don't have to feel that. And we're
Right.
not really used to feeling a lot.
No. No, you don't want to think about everything bad that's already happened. Cause like I said, like my life went upside down in a day. So there was a lot of trauma and a lot of pain right in the early beginning of my addiction. And, I didn't just start feeling all of that until the last 3 years, 2, 3 years, and I masked that with the drugs. And I don't think that I would even like, oh, I can't say I wouldn't have been able to mom because I'm doing it today. But
Right.
like it at the time, like I had the drug, that was my option. I could either be miserable and not do anything at all and be sick, or I could take this drug and do my best.
Right.
Or what I thought was
So,
the best.
so after your son got taken away, what did life kind of look like after that?
So that's when my addiction became its worst. I had overdosed probably 10 times. It was about 6 months without him before I got arrested. And I was living with my boyfriend at a time, and I was living at his house, and we had drugs just accessible to us all the time. And like, he was my biggest enabler. I was his biggest enabler. And like, he's the reason I went to jail. I'm the reason he went to jail. It was so bad, but like, it's all literally from the time my son got taken away to the time I got arrested is just a blur of overdosing, getting high, beating someone up, getting beat up, getting in cuffs. Like, it's until it was finally in cuffs for the last time.
Okay. And what happened with that the last time?
So that's when my boyfriend he I had him arrested 2 days prior to that.
Mhm.
And I was in my kids' town, and I texted their dad and I said they were going to their first day of school. And I said, I'm in in the town where they're living right now. And I said, can I see them before they go to school? So I was supposed to meet them over at Dunkin' Donuts. And
Mhm.
I was walking across the highway to go to the Dunkin' Donuts. I was going to go in the bathroom and get high real quick and then go see my kids off to school. As I was walking across the street, I seen a state trooper go by, and I seen him circle around. And I knew in my heart, like, this was it. Like, I know he's coming back for me. I know I'm wanted. And like, all the cops in the town knew who I was at this point. So I ran in the bathroom quick. I got my last high. I knew it was my last high. And I came out of the bathroom, and they were standing there waiting. And I said, let's go. I said, let's go. I'm done. I need to go. I remember just being in the cop car and just saying, thank God. Like, I was relieved.
So
I was,
you were almost like excited and felt like this was going to be a new opportunity.
yeah, yeah,
Oh my goodness. See, that's so crazy to think about because a lot of times we do want help so bad, but it's like we can't get out of that cycle.
right. It can't. And I've been to about 14 rehabs in that before going to jail. And I've left every single one because I could, you know, I knew with jail, I had no choice except to get clean. And for what my charges were, I was looking at 3 or 4 years in jail. So I got to jail, and like I said, I was relieved. I knew I was gonna be there for a minute. And I knew at this point, all I had was left was Jesus. So like, this is where my real journey with Christ began, like from the
Mhm.
moment into jail. I don't even remember going through a detox. Like, I don't I want to say I didn't. Like, Jesus carried me through. And the
Mhm.
more I dove into Jesus, the more miracles started to happen. So when I was 3 months into jail, still waiting on my preliminary hearing to see like what my sentencing is and whatnot, my
Mhm.
county decided they were going to open up drug court.
Mhm.
And um, I was the first person in our county to be on our drug court treatment plan. And then I was released from jail 4 months into jail when I was supposed to be there for 3 or 4 years.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah. And from there I went to the Salvation Army, which was like a Christian type of rehab. Um,
Mhm.
and that was in South Philly. And they're really strict over there. And I ended up getting kicked out. And which was crazy because it just all kind of worked out the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I went into a recovery house. And in the recovery house, I ended up relapsing. And I ended up dying, being brought to back to life. You think like by now, like it'd be done, but like there's just a series of, I don't think I'm done yet. I don't think I'm done yet. What's one more high? You know? So jail, Salvation Army, recovery house, and I'm on drug court. At this point, after the recovery house and I relapsed, I went to another rehab, the first rehab I ever completed, and
Mm-hmm.
I moved back in with my mom for the first time since I got married at 18. And I was doing all the right things on treatment court and whatnot. And I ended up meeting my husband, who was on veterans court, which is a similar program except for veterans who have drug problems. So he was on veterans court and I was on drug court. Um, he introduced me to the church I'm at today and Celebrate Recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up getting pregnant like within months of being together. And we got married really, really fast. Um, and this was all in the midst of COVID. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so the country gets shut down right after we get married, right after I find out that we're having a girl. We have our own place. Life is good. God is good, you know? And then he relapses. And then I relapse while I'm pregnant. And I was about 7 months pregnant at the time and I overdosed. He had a Narcan me. And I don't know how or why we had Narcan in our house, but we did. And so I was brought back and that was probably my true wake up right there. Because that not only just almost killed me, like I almost killed this baby.
Right.
I've been an addict for years, but I never used while being pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And to use that one time, and to take it, it took me out, you know? So as I said, this was in the midst of COVID. So everything was shut down. Our churches were shut down. All meetings were shut down. NA,
Mm-hmm.
AA, everything was shut down. So I stopped, but my husband kept using. And I knew that if he kept using, I was gonna relapse again. There was just no way about it. Like I wouldn't have avoided it. And I knew I had to tell on him. And so I went to his sponsor, our pastor at the church, and our mentor, and I told on us. I told them that we're relapsing, we need help. So they opened up those church doors for us to have an intervention for him.
Right.
And we had an intervention and they were going to send him off to rehab that day and blah, blah, blah. So it was an intervention. We left, me and him went out to lunch. I was working overnights. I was a CNA at the time and I had to work that night. So we got lunch, we went home. And I had to go to sleep for a little bit before he woke me up at like 6 o'clock so I could get ready for work.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to bed and then he wakes me up at like 6 o'clock and he says, "Come down when you're ready." So he goes back downstairs and I'm just laying in bed for a little bit. And I texted him while I was upstairs. I was like, "Hey, can you get me a drink?" And at the same time I sent that text, I heard a bang. And I'm putting a million scenarios through my head, but the one scenario that was in my head is like, did he just fall? And why did he fall? So I'm creeping out of the bed, like why? Like happen? And he's not answering my text yet. So then I start walking down the stairs and I find him laying on the floor, unresponsive, and he's blue. And, automatically I know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I call 911. I'm like beating the crap out of him, doing what I can to try to wake him up. I'm looking for that Narcan that he just used on me a week before. And the EMTs take him away. Our sponsor ends up coming to the house. I drive down to the hospital with him, and we're waiting in that waiting room. And I was texting his cousin at the time, and I remember texting like he fucking relapsed, he overdosed again, or he overdosed, like he's such a fucking idiot, like thinking Like
He's okay.
he's gonna come back because that's what happens. You overdose and you come back because it's happened to me like how many times.
Right.
And the doctor comes in and he says the words, "We did everything we could," and like everything, just everything was just gone, just gone. And I don't know how. I just remember that, our pastor was there. I mentioned the same people that were at the church earlier that day during the intervention were
Right.
all there. I don't know how they got there. My brother was there. My mom was there. And I don't remember how these people got there. And I just remember going home with my mom. And and I remember saying, like, nothing's gonna be the same. Nothing's okay. And this is the first death like I've ever experienced, like somewhere personal to me, never alone my husband and the father of my child.
And you're still pregnant at this time, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I know that he relapsed, and I know that if he relapsed, that means that and God knows I searched him up and down all over his pockets and everything to see what I could find. I couldn't even find the needle that he used.
Mm-hmm.
And all I remember going home that night with my mom and thinking, if I go in that house, all I'm gonna look for are these drugs.
Right.
And it took me a couple of days to get to the point of getting out of bed and going back to our house to like go collect some of my things because I wasn't going to live there anymore. I was moving back in with my mom at this point. And I ended up finding his drugs. I found his stash and I took them back to my mom's house with every intention to use them. And I remember sitting in that bathroom with them and I'm looking at them and I'm looking at these bags. My husband was 6'3" and 250 pounds. Okay. He was a big guy.
Right.
And these bags were so little. Like I was trying to comprehend how something so small could take out something so big. Like, how does this end somebody? You know? And I I heard clear as day someone say flush it. And without even thinking, I stood up and I dropped them in the toilet. I realized I dropped them in the toilet and I'm taking them out of the toilet all wet. Like, what the fuck? Because I'm an addict. Like, well, I did
Right.
not just put my drugs in the toilet. Like,
Right.
because I would never in my right mind do that. But it
I can.
happened, and there's no getting back.
Yeah.
I don't know who. I don't know if that was God. I don't know if that was him. To this day, I don't know. But I heard it, and it happened, and I thank God I didn't do it because I know if I would have done one of those, it would have taken me out too, and me and my daughter wouldn't be here today. So the next day, I had a doctor's appointment with the OBGYN, and she, you know, I was honest with her. I was like, my husband just passed away, relapsed. He overdosed. I relapsed last week, and I overdosed. And she said, I really want to put you on Suboxone. And I was like, I'm not doing Suboxone. Like, there ain't no way. Like, it's replacing one drug with another. I'm not like, what is the point? What is the point? I've been on Suboxone before. I've been on Suboxone 100 of times for my addiction, trying to get up. I used to shoot them up. And she's like, she sat with me and she held my hand and she's like, please just go on the Suboxone and we could talk more about this after you have a baby. So I did. And it was the best thing that I ever did in my life. It was.
Hi, my name is Shayna, and I'm the CEO and founder of Controlled Chaos Coaching. Here at Controlled Chaos Coaching, we believe in reframing your thinking without shame. We believe in growing from setbacks and building a life you really enjoy. We will help you to find a sobriety path that works for you because sobriety is different for every single person. And we have an amazing group of women that will support you in your journey. So if you're ready to get sober, please contact me. You can contact me at my website, www.controlledchaoscoaching.com, or also on Instagram at Controlled Chaos Coaching. All right, I love you mucho. Okay, just so people kind of get the idea here, right? Once you've already been using during your pregnancy, it's not super safe first of all, to just like stop using drugs at that point, right? Not for you, not for the baby, right? And Suboxone or MAT is kind of like an option where they can monitor it and make sure that it's safe for you and the baby, and that you're comfortable enough to where you're not going to continue seeking out drugs and hurt you or the baby or overdose, right?
Correct.
So that's kind of why the decision was made there. And I'm just going to be real here. This is the first time on my little podcast I've got to have somebody on who has experience with Matt, and I love it. I dealt with Matt a lot when I worked in drug treatment and things like that. And it's really like a controversial topic, right? Like, are you sober? Are you not sober? And the truth is that those are all just words, right? Like sobriety, alcoholism. There's fights all the time over if you're an alcoholic or if alcohol is just bad, right? Or all these things. Like those are all just words. But what we're trying to do once we have a problem with alcohol or drugs in our life is just make it so that we can live a life where us and our children can function and be happy and live, right? Like we don't care about the words, we don't care about the labels, we don't care about what people think, and it really shouldn't matter. What should matter is that we are able to live a safe, healthy life, and so are our children.
Yes.
That's kind of done for you, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what it's done with Suboxone, and like I said, like I used to be that person. Like you're on subs, you're not clean. Like you're not really sober. But I know sober people who are, how do I put this into words? Who are doing way less in life than I am today, and are not good people. Like, I am living a life I've never dreamed of having. And it wouldn't be possible without Suboxone. Suboxone takes out the best thing about Suboxone, and this is what I try to tell anybody who's trying to get clean and they just can't do it. Suboxone takes out that thought barrier in your head where you are constantly thinking of using and that drug. It takes it away. You no longer have that thought. You are no longer obsessed with that drug. And that was my issue for the 6 years I was in addiction. That was my issue. I was obsessed with this drug.
And even taken out of your system, like when you were in jail or when you went to rehab, you would come back. People wonder when there's a period of time where you've been clean, why do people always go back? And I think it's important what you just said is because there's an obsession and it's there whether you're using or not. And it's there because you have used for so long that your body is craving that. Just like people crave food, Burger King, whatever. But it's way worse, right? Just like it's hard to get on a diet, like that's a very small scale of what it's like to be obsessed with some kind of narcotic or some kind of drug or alcohol. And it's funny because I worked in treatment for a long time and was trying to get sober from alcohol. And I would always, be told just AA. And if you're not getting sober from being in AA, like you're not trying hard enough. And I'm like, dude, like I'm in these meetings all the time. I've done the steps more times than you can count. I probably could recite the big book backwards to you. I don't know how much harder I can try. I've been to rehab. I've been to sober living. And I went on Vivitrol. I ended up moving home after like 20 years of trying to get sober. And I went on Vivitrol. Girl, I have never really thought about drinking again. And Vivitrol is like in a different class than Suboxone or whatever. But still, I explain it the same way that like, as soon as I took that stupid shot, if I would have known it was that easy, I would have done that years ago and not gave a shit about what anybody said. Because as soon as I took that shot, literally, and I still take it to this day, it's almost been 3 years. I used to say like I would be sober. And before I even knew what I was doing, I would be drunk. Like the thought would come in my head, and most people would be like, play the tape through. And I'm like, what tape? I'm already drunk. Like, I
Right.
don't even know what I'm talking about. Like, there was like no time in between for me. It was like impulse. I have no impulse control.
Yeah.
And once I took the shot, I really stopped thinking about it. Even when bad things would happen, good things would happen, whatever. If I think about like liquor now, I'm like, no, like that really fucked up my life for a
Yeah.
long time.
It really, it's
It
absolutely.
mattered before. It didn't matter at all.
No,
So,
I love Vivitrol. I was on Vivitrol my first year in sobriety out of jail.
right.
And I was getting the shot every day. And then when I got pregnant, my body started rejecting the shot. And I still have golf ball sized bumps in my butt from the shot. And come to find out, I have Hep C, and my liver was handling the shot. And I got off the shot. And literally within 2 months, that's when the relapses happened.
Right. See, so I think what I just want to make really clear, and this is kind of why I've compared it to the Vivitrol, is like people are just trying to do whatever they can do to like move on and live a life just like everyday people live, right?
Yeah,
And if you don't know what that feels like, I would say you're very, very lucky.
very
But
blessed.
yeah, but the truth is like you're just trying to move on with your life. And I was a single mom of three. My ex-husband passed away from natural causes like a few years ago, 3 years ago. And being a single mom is like one of the hardest things in the world. But then having all these problems, trauma, addiction, alcoholism, all of that, and you are doing that now. So can you talk to us about that? Like what it's been like to still be momming, just lost your husband, but like still surviving, right? Like what does that look like for you?
So I lost my husband 2 months before my daughter was born. And
Mhm.
she was born, and I was on Suboxone at this point. And when at that point I was 2 months on Suboxone, and I was no longer thinking about the drug, and that I the baby was born, and I was like, how am I supposed to take care of her with absolutely no help? You know, my ex-husband took my two older kids when I fucked up. My mother, my son's grandma took him when I went to jail. There's
Mhm.
no for this baby. It's just me.
Right.
So I have to make it. And how am I going to do it? Like, what am I so? I have to be two parents. Like, obviously, money's going through my mind. Like, how am I supposed to take care of this kid on my own with no money? And
Mhm.
when my husband passed, I was working as a CNA. I've been a CNA for like the past 10 years, off and on. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to work nights as a CNA with a baby. It wasn't going to happen. And the only thing I could think of was I have to go back to school to be a nurse or an LPN or something. Then I can make decent money. Um, so I am a convicted felon. So it made all of these processes very, very hard.
Right.
And all at the same time, I was introduced into the world of influencing, content creation, and sales. And I've never even thought about it before in my life. Like it's just not my thing. And I decided to just give it my best shot. It was like November at the time. Christmas was around the corner. I needed to give my kids a Christmas. It was the first year I was sober. They just lost their stepdad. Like it was a hard year. I just want to give them a good Christmas. So, I'm also on drug court at the time, which gives you those intentions to set goals.
Mhm.
So I'm setting the goals for myself the first time ever in my life, and I'm putting in the work. So I just dove into it. I had a really good mentor at the time. You know, I I obsessed over other influencers that I wanted to be like, and I did what they did. And somehow, some way or another, I found success in the top 2% of my company within 6 months of doing it. And it's like it was my calling all my life.
So did
And
you become an influencer through the makeup, like doing the makeup? Is that how you started? Because you really talk about not just makeup, right? You talk about Matt, you talk about the things that have happened in your life. You really kind of run the gamut with things, right? But it kind of started from this makeup stuff, right?
yeah.
And that's what you do as a job now, right?
So I'm with a company called Pharmacy, which is a lifestyle company. We have makeup, hair care, skincare, yada, yada, yada. Um, and it started with makeup. Like my hashtag was wake up, makeup, and pray up. Like I loved getting on love, doing my makeup, and talking about me being in recovery, talking about me being a single mom. I was grieving with my network. Like I wouldn't have made it through grieving or my first year in recovery without doing this. Like it was like my meetings. I needed it. It was the support I needed, and still to this day I need.
So when
And
did people start following you because you were like going live and talking and doing your makeup and stuff? So
yeah,
they would find you and be like, "Oh, I like this. This is fun," and just kind of follow.
yeah, yeah. I started with 200 friends on my Facebook, and then like within 6 months, I started a TikTok, and now I am on like every social media platform times two. And yeah,
Yeah,
I
same.
go. So yeah, I don't know. I love putting my life out there because I know I'm not the only one with these problems. And I wish I would have found somebody who dealt with the same issues and had someone to talk to and know that I wasn't alone, because I felt so alone so many times through it. Because,
Mhm.
these aren't things people want to talk about. Nobody wants to talk about how they overdosed when they were pregnant. Nobody wants to talk about how they're on maintenance. Nobody wants to talk about how they're sad and they have to mom at the same time. Like nobody wants to talk about these things. And I do. I do want to talk about it, and I don't want to shut up about it until somebody wants to talk to me about it.
And that is exactly why I started this podcast and started sharing my story too, is because when I was going through everything I was going through, I seen so many people getting sober and getting better, and I literally thought I was crazy and like I was just one of those people who was never going to be able to get it. And I got to a point kind of where you talked about like you were sober but you were obsessing and you were going to end up using again, and you did end up using numerous times, right? And it was like when I was sober, I was miserable. When I was drinking, I was miserable. And I started to get to a point where I was like, I can't imagine living like this forever. And
Yeah,
I've never been a suicidal person or anything like that. I would never want to do something like that to like my family or my kids. But it really was like at that point where I was like, I really don't want to be here anymore. Like I feel like I cannot, no matter how hard I try, feel happy, right?
yeah, yeah,
Or feel even normal. I would have settled for like in the middle, right? Like, but it's funny because I started talking about these things. And when I first started talking on my podcast and even on other people's podcasts, CPS came to my house because of something that I talked about on my podcast or somebody else's. And it was an incident from like 4 years ago. And, my daughters have a really good home now. And I've definitely done some things that I was not proud of. But like, I'm never going to stop being honest about those things, no matter what happens, because it's real. And when people see other people like them, then they know they can get better too. And although
exactly.
we're proud of everything I've done, I'm going to own it because I've gotten better and like we can help other people, right? But if we act, we, oh, like none of this stuff ever happened and we have no idea, then people just suffer in silence. And I'm just not willing to do that.
Exactly. Exactly. I've watched so many people relapse and relapse and relapse, and they just can't get over it. And, you know,
Mhm.
I I'm going to be the one to say, hey, why don't you try this? It is okay to do Suboxone. It's okay to do Vivitrol. It
Well, it has to stop being about like we have to do this or we have to do that or there's these rules or there's those rules. It's like we all don't have the same body makeup, the same brain. We're all different. So, like,
Yep.
what works for me might not work for you. But imagine struggling for how many years and then walking into the doctor and taking a shot that's been available for years and everything is fine. And it's like, why did I not do that?
Right.
Because if you take medication, then people think you didn't do it on your own and you're not strong enough.
Exactly. People won't go and
What?
do these medications because they're so scared of being judged. They're so
Right.
scared. It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
And I do, like, I love God. God, spirituality is a whole lot, a big part of my program, right? AA, I still love the 12 steps. It helped me be like a better person. It helped me stop being so angry and hating so many people in the world, right? It helped me a lot, but that is not what got me sober. So it's like if we don't speak up about that stuff, then people really are out there thinking, oh, I just didn't try hard enough. Like that doesn't make any sense because there's not, I don't want to say there's not a way to like try yourself out of addiction and alcoholism, but willpower just really, it's not about willpower.
Not,
It's
not at all. No, absolutely not. And that goes about like everything. Like if there's a bag of Doritos in front of you and you're starving, you have those. There's no such thing as willpower. You're gonna eat a freaking Dorito. You know what I
really,
mean? It's
and then there's those people out who won't touch the damn Dorito no matter what. And you're like,
right.
how do they do that? How? I don't
Exactly.
know.
Everybody's different. My
These
fiance,
make it different. That's how.
yeah, my fiance today is the man that I was with before I went to jail, and he's
Mhm.
6 years sober today, and
Mhm.
he nothing. He's doesn't have any maintenance, you know,
Mhm.
we are just two totally different people. Our recovery is just not the same. Our addiction wasn't the same, you know, and here's the thing, I've been alone for the last 3 years in recovery.
Mhm.
So being close to somebody else in recovery who's doing it different than I am, it puts it in a whole new perspective for me, you
Right.
know, just to know that like, okay, like just like I do have Lyme's disease, like I am sick. All right. We are both sick, but our sicknesses aren't the same. Just like with people with COVID, you have
Right.
that kind of, I have this kind of symptom, but it's still at the end of the day, it's COVID. You know what I mean? And we're gonna use a different kind of medication to handle those types of symptoms. You know what I mean?
I always compare it to like dieting because my sister used to say this and I always remembered it. She would be like, everybody would fight over like, should you do keto? Should you do Weight Watchers? Should you do this? And she was like, all of them work if you do them. The problem is who can stick to what, right? Like she would say, I'm never gonna be able to cut out all carbs. I'm gonna fail at that, but I can count calories, right? So she would be able to lose weight like that. And I kind of feel that's the way sobriety is, right? There are all these things out there that you can do to get sober. But the truth is when you look at people who are in recovery, they all almost do the same thing, but in a different way, right? It's like connection, mind, body, soul, right? You're doing
Yeah.
something for your mind, you're doing something for your body, doing something for your soul. And you may not believe in, like, say, AA, but you're still doing something close to
Right.
AA. You know, some people use like a whole bunch of women on the internet and that's their AA or whatever.
I can, that's what I've been saying for the last 4 years or 3 years, that these are my meetings. This is my, you know what I mean? Like it is that you need that connection and you need to find what your purpose is. You need to find a purpose in your life, which is really hard to do if you are constantly obsessing over a drug. You know what I mean? So you got to figure out a way to put that obsession aside. And like you said, find something for your mind, body, and soul. You found something to block that out of your mind. Now, what are you doing for making yourself? I feel like, you know, a big part of recovery and a lot of people in recovery, as we get sober, we start taking care of ourselves better. We start wanting to look better. I look younger now than I did 20 years ago. Not 20, like 15 years ago. But I, you know, like getting sober works for me. It makes me look good. And I see that for so many other people in recovery. And you got to find something that you are so passionate about and you have a purpose behind. And I truly believe like if I didn't come into the influencing world and makeup and everything, that maybe I wouldn't be sober. It had to be the combination of Suboxone, doing what I do, and Jesus. It's the combination. It's not just the one thing like you said.
I love that. I really do love that. And I I want to say like how we talked about like feeling, still depressed or anxious and all that stuff in sobriety. Like now that you have some time in sobriety, how do you feel mentally? Do you feel much better? I mean, it's got to help that you have a good life now. I seen you were like in Florida or something. Where were you? Like a
Miami.
ago?
My,
Miami, girl. You're living it up now.
yeah. I mean, life is good, but let me tell you about the first time I experienced seasonal depression last year, like ever, and I have no reason to be depressed. I have a good life, but feelings are real and it creeps up on you, like there's things called being burnt out.
Mhm.
I'm just tired of like being a mom. Before I got engaged and was with my fiance, like after a few years of being alone, I was lonely and
Right.
and being like doing everything by myself, it's just exhausting and feelings are real and dealing with that mentally is a struggle. So I'm grateful for it. I'm
Mhm.
grateful for the struggle. It made me dive down a different hole of mental health, which I never knew anything about mental health before, during addiction or before addiction, and I realized that mental health and addiction play so much into each other. But
Oh
I'm
yeah.
grateful for mental health problems that I don't have to use in order to friggin' deal with it. It's so great to be able to have bad mental health days and not have to use a drug to cope, and I remember having those types of days in addiction and just being able to do a bag and it's all okay for that moment, and it's not like that anymore. And I'm grateful that I'm not that person. Anytime I'm feeling upset, I'm grateful, you know.
Right. So I have two things that I want to ask you that come to mind, and I was almost kind of nervous to ask them because I don't want it to feel like a judgy thing. So never judgy because I got my share of baby daddies, so I'm not judging you. I have three, so put it out there. So obviously as women sometimes, and especially in like addiction alcoholism, we don't always make the best choices as far as significant others. Not that they're bad people or anything like that, but maybe just not great for us or great for our sobriety, right? um how has that played into your life and into like your addictions and into your sobriety? Like how has that affected you?
A
Your
lot. A lot. Obviously, I married
Mhm.
my school sweetheart. We were 15 when we got together. I married at 18. He's still my friend today. And he's a great dad and he's a great man. He stopped using the second I walked out the door. Like wasn't that type of addict. Um, and I'm grateful for him.
Mhm.
And I put him on a pedestal a lot when I with any other relationship that I've been in. Um,
Mhm.
and then when it came to my youngest son's dad, he ended up passing away in 2021 from heart related problems from drugs. Um, he was an addict and like we got together through addiction. Um,
So two of your children's dads have passed away.
yeah,
Wow, that's a lot for one person to go through.
it's a lot for kids.
It's
And,
a
and
lot and your kids, but I mean, truthfully, to say that you've been through all of that and you're out on the other side is like, I
right,
mean, big ups to you.
right. And I have to be because they are gone. I have to be here and present, and I always try to explain it to my kids like their deaths saved me, it
So, do you have your son and your daughter now, or is your son, did you say your son is with his grandparents?
I have my kids now. My kids are back with me.
Do you have the two of them, or you have your older girls too?
Okay, so my two oldest, my son and my daughter. Me and my son, my ex-husband, we have joint custody. So they're here 3, 4 times a week. They literally just got picked up right before we went on the podcast.
All your babies.
Yeah. Yeah. And my my son's grandma, like, this is what the beauty of what came from my husband's death is. My mom lives down the road from her, and my husband passed away. I moved back in with my mom, and she let me have my son over here a lot, and thinking, like, she needs her son right now. She's grieving, she's pregnant, and she's only down the road. So, like, I think she was testing the waters with it, and I
Right.
had my daughter, and before my daughter turned a year, she gave me custody back, like papers and all. And which I thought was going to be a long, hard fight. I remember being in jail and saying, I'm never going to get my son back. And she gave him custody. And me and her are so close today through all of it. And yeah, and then I have my 3-year-old, and she's the glue that got us all back together.
And your fiance now, what is that relationship like? Because I know you kind of got in. How long have you guys been together?
So we were together 6 years ago, before I went to
Okay,
jail.
or now. So it's like a great relationship. I mean, I guess you wouldn't want to say no now.
So he served a lot of time. He did 4 years because of me, in jail. And he got out 2 years ago, and the first thing he did was message me, and I was like, nope, nope, like, ain't no way. Like, I'm in a great place. My life is so good. Like, you are just fresh out of jail. Like, don't even talk to me if you don't have a job, or a house and a car. Like, nope. And then and then 2 years later, um, I had run into him at a fair last year, and he was with another girl, and I seen him, and he was sober. He was I made a TikTok about it at the fair 10 minutes after I'm like, it's so crazy to see this man sober and holding another woman's hand, and he looks happy, and like, it it was all good things I was saying. It was just so good to see him at that place in life. Like, I was proud of him. And then 2 months later, he had reached out to me again, and we started talking. And we were keeping it a big secret because he was the last person I was with in addiction. And we did some really horrible things to each other. We did some horrible, like, unforgivable things that his dad probably should never forgive me for, that my parents should never forgive him for, that my kids should never forgive him for. So I was super nervous about my kids finding out that I was with him, that they were going to be so nervous about me relapsing or something crazy happening. Um, and then, I don't know, God just moved things along before I was ready. I can't remember exactly how it happened, but my kids had found out. And I was like,
Mhm.
guys, all I can say is that if I can change, anybody can change. All right. I said, you guys don't have to see him if you want. If you guys tell me to stop seeing him, I will stop seeing him. But if you want to go and meet him and have you guys feel it out, that's on you. So they agreed to that. And it was a done deal. Like, he's just not the person that he was 6 years ago, and neither am I. You know,
Right.
God plays a big part in that. God is a big part of my life, and God's a big part of his life. And
Mhm.
it's God just put us back in each other's life when I needed him to come back, you know.
That so cool. And I think sometimes kids are more forgiving than even us, right? Like they're just like, moving on. So the other thing I wanted to ask was about the Suboxone. And I think a lot of times the thought is that when people use Matt, that they're still like getting high from it, right? So can you talk to us about that? Is that do you get high off of it? Do you feel high all the time? What does it actually feel like to you on an everyday basis?
So
Obviously, not like it did before, right? But what does it feel like?
so I would, like, put it like this. If you are on antidepressants and you are starting a new medication, you're going to have these side effects where you are groggy, and things like that. When you are started on Suboxone, you are going to feel that.
Mhm.
I look back at my lives from 4 years ago or 3 years ago when I first started with on Suboxone, and I could see the drowsiness in my eyes,
Right.
and people accuse me of being high on my lives. Um,
Right.
and it used to make me so mad and so angry because I'm over here living my life sober. Like I wouldn't be showing my face if I was high.
Right.
Um, and that was effects of my Suboxone.
Hmm.
Today, being on Suboxone for 4 years, I don't have any kind of effects like that anymore. I think my body is just um what is the word that I want?
Like
Like,
gotten used to it.
yeah, I've gotten used to it. So, and I'm also on a lot lower of a dose than I was back when I first started. I've tapered down a whole lot, which is what you're supposed to do with the medication. The goal isn't to be on it forever, but you will be on that so long as you feel that you need to be on it, you know? Um, and like I said, the goal is to taper. So like I used to be on 2 8 milligram strips a day. So taking 2 8 milligram strips in a morning by afternoon, like, yeah, like I was tired. And like you're gonna feel like that. People will say it's like getting high and doing like a pill or a bag of dope and you're nodding out like that. It's nothing like that. It's
Mhm.
nothing like
It's
but
drowsiness, sleepiness. That's what it felt like.
yeah, reminds me of taking Benadryl,
Hmm.
you know?
Okay. So what does it look like for you, like going forward? Because I know you said eventually the goal is to taper down or off, but is it something that you, like, for instance, I asked my doctor, like I said, it's been almost 3 years that I've been on Vivitrol, and I did ask my doctor about a year ago, and like, should I get off? Because like I feel like I'm okay now. And she was like, huh, no, thank you. Um, she was like, you struggled for like 20 years. It's working. There are no harmful side effects, and it also helps with anxiety. So I see no reason for you to get off ever. And I just like, I don't think you should be willing to chance that. And again, she was like, it's up to you, but there's really no point in it. So that was kind of my answer. Cause some people, I do sobriety coaching, and some people are like, why are you still on Vivitrol? Well, I don't know. My doctor said to stay on it. And truthfully, it does help with anxiety because when I get close to like, it's like a once a month shot. When I get close, I get a little cranky, or so
Yeah.
my husband. So that's my answer. I'm staying on it. But what is your decision look like? Or do you think, are you just not sure?
Well, my doctor says literally the exact same thing.
Okay.
Like I mess up something that's working for you. I've tapered down a lot. Like I said, I used to be on 2 8 milligram strips. Now I'm on 4 milligrams, and I take that daily. Um, so I've been on that for about 6 months now.
Mhm.
And the goal was to go from Suboxone to the Sublocade shot, which is a shot in your stomach. The same thing as Suboxone, so if you're getting in a shot and you go like every 3 to 6 months or something like that.
Right.
Um, but then, 6 months ago is when I got engaged and everything. And I don't want to mess up what's working. Just
Right.
God forbid something goes wrong. Like it is my safety. You use it as a crutch and your safety net. Yes, yes, I do, because I do not want to relapse. I
Mhm.
will do whatever I can to not get over that point. And I know being on Suboxone is going to keep me from getting to that point no matter what happens in my life, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Really. So as for now, you're staying where you're at, and we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah. Maybe sublocade someday.
Yeah. And I love that answer. It's kind of like when something's working, just like anything else in life, you are scared to make a change because what you're doing is working. And it's like, what if I change this? And listen, like one day of me drinking could change like the next 6 years. It's
Yep.
not like drink one day or you use one day and it's just you fucked up that day. It's like you're gone and you don't even know where the last 3 years went. Like it's
Exactly.
not it's not
Exactly.
the amount how fast time goes by in addiction is
Yeah. I
like
miss
I
too much.
can
It's
be
like,
like, what's going on?
yeah. Yeah, but there's not a risk I'm willing to take. It's not. I have too
Well,
much.
we have a new puppy and he's like not wanting to stay in the room. He's like, wow. Do you hear that?
What kind of puppy?
Right past me. But yeah, I think that it's just almost easier to just stay where you're at sometimes, and especially when you're doing well.
Right. Right.
Okay, so is there anything that you want people to know? Like, obviously, you have a huge platform and you talk all the time, but for people out there wondering about, addiction, sobriety, all of that, Matt, what what do you want to leave them with?
Just almost everything that we said, like addiction isn't one size fits all. Neither is recovery. We're all different. You got to figure out what's going to work for you. If you've tried to get clean before and it's not working, then try something different. If it doesn't work, try something different. Something out there will work for you. You just got to figure out how to make it work for you and you'll be all right.
I love that. Well, where can people find you? What are your social media?
So I am Amanda Grimm on Facebook, Grimm, and I'm Amanda Owns You, Amanda OWNSU at TikTok. That's my main TikTok. And you guys can find all the stuff at other link trees.
Yay. Well, I'm so happy that you came on today and that I stalked you. We're like going to be BFFs now, forevs.
Right? Thank you for having me. It means a lot that you wanted to hear from me.